Tag TV brings you daily news bulletin from India. Breaking news and views from India.
You're watching South Asian NEWSLINE and here are the top stories we are tracking for you on Wednesday, the 7th of May. India strikes terror hideouts in Pakistan over Pahalgam attack. Pakistan says will respond to India's midnight strikes at their own choice. And Bangladesh's ailing former Premier Khaleda Zia returns home. And now for all the details. In a major retaliatory strike, after 26 Indian men were killed by terrorists affiliated to a Pakistan-based terror outfit, India in the wee hours of Wednesday launched strikes at terror hideouts in Pakistan and Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir. Here's what we know so far.
2 weeks after 26 tourists, including 2 government officials on leave, were killed by terrorists affiliated to a Pakistan-based terror outfit, India in the early hours of Wednesday launched strikes at 9 locations in Pakistan and Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir. Briefing about the attack, India said the joint forces of the Indian Armed Forces launched Operation Sindoor in the intervening night of 6th to 7th May, hitting terrorist infrastructure in Pakistan and POJK, from where terrorist attacks against India have been planned and directed. India has said the steps were taken in the wake of the barbaric Pahalgam terror attack, adding that the actions taken were focused, measured and non-escalatory in nature. As per government sources, the 9 sites targeted were Jaish-e-Mohammed and Lashkar-e-Taiba in Muzaffarabad, Kotli, Bahawalpur and Muridke. India, which had earlier taken slew of diplomatic measures against Islamabad, has said that strikes in Pakistan were aimed to preempt further cross-border attacks.
Earlier this morning, as you would be aware, India exercised its right to respond and preempt as well as deter more such cross-border attacks. These actions were measured, non-escalatory, proportionate and responsible. They focused on dismantling the terrorist infrastructure and disabling terrorists likely to be sent across to India.
Following the strikes, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi also chaired cabinet meeting in New Delhi. An all-party meeting has also been called to brief the opposition about the action taken. Pakistan, following the strikes, has resorted to artillery shelling across line of control, targeting the civilian population. As a precautionary measure, keeping any Pakistan's aggressive retaliation in areas beyond the LOC, Indian Airlines have also shut operations temporarily across northern India, with Srinagar and Amritsar airports shutting until further orders. The government action has been welcomed by the families of victims of the Pahalgam terror attack.
What I've learned from the news channels, which I've been watching from morning 6 o'clock, there have been strikes on the terror outfits, which have been in the Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. So if it is attack on the terror outfits, I think it's the right thing. Because if not now, they will kill some more civilians, some more people across the border, across India, etc. So I think government has done a detailed study before coming into this conclusion of attacking these terror outfits, and we completely support the government decision.
नहीं, ये तो होना ही चाहिए था. देखिए, अटैक तो होना. मेरा ये कहना है, भारत सरकार जब अटैक किए हैं, ऐसा एक 9 घाटी उड़ा के ऐसा नहीं, पूरा होना चाहिए. मतलब पूरा पाकिस्तान को उड़ा देना चाहिए, क्योंकि इसको खत्म नहीं करने से फिर से ये जो इंसिडेंट हुआ था फिर से होगा.
While China, Qatar, UAE, UN and several other countries have urged restraint by New Delhi and Islamabad, Israel termed India's action as its right to self-defense, while expressing its support. It is the biggest strike India has taken against Pakistan since the 1971 Bangladesh Liberation War. The 2 nuclear-armed nations have fought multiple wars since their partition in 1947. India had also taken military action against Pakistan-based terror outfits in 2016 and 2019, when terrorists attacked its military personnel in Uri and Pulwama.
Meanwhile, Pakistani citizens and residents of POJK recounted the chaos of India's overnight strike on terror hubs. Islamabad has said it will respond to strikes at their own choice. We have a report.
Pakistani citizens recounted on Wednesday the chaos and terror moments after overnight Indian airstrikes targeted 9 terror hideouts in the region. India attacked hideouts in Pakistan and Pakistan occupied Jammu and Kashmir in the wee hours of Wednesday, and Pakistan claimed it had shot down 5 Indian fighter jets in the worst fighting in more than 2 decades between the nuclear-armed enemies.
रात को 12:45 का टाइम था तो हम सोए हुए थे। एक ड्रोन आया और सीधा वो उसकी थोड़ी सी हाइट ऊपर थी। उसके बाद 3 ड्रोन आए हैं। वो तीनों का ताकुब मस्जिद थी, उन्होंने मस्जिद पर हमला किया, जिससे मस्जिद का सेन, मस्जिद के आगे एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव ऑफिस और उसके आगे मस्जिद की छत वो सारी तबाह हो गई थी। और एक अफराद था, वो अपनी ड्यूटी पे छत पे बैठा हुआ था, वो इसके शहीद हो गया।
On the other hand, some said India will pay a huge price following the cross-border strikes. Pakistan has said that it will respond to India strikes at time, place and means of our own choice.
ये कहते हैं कि इंडिया काफ़ी दिनों से कह रहे थे हमने हमला करना है उन्होंने कल रात को जो एक बुज़दिलाना इक़दाम दिखाया पाकिस्तान की गयूर अवाम के ख़िलाफ़, हम इसकी सख्त मज़म्मत करते हैं और अपनी पाक फ़ौज के शाना बशाना खड़े हैं। जब तक हमारी जान की लहू की ज़रूरत पड़ेगी हम हाजिर हैं और इंशाअल्लाह इनको इसकी बहुत बड़ी कीमत चुकाना पड़ेगी इंडिया को। आप देख लेना आने वाले वक्त में हम अपनी पाक फ़ौज के साथ इनको ऐसा भरपूर जवाब देंगे, ये मुद्दों तो याद रखेंगे और आइंदा कभी ऐसी हरकत करने की सोचेंगे भी नहीं इंशाअल्लाह अज़ीज़।
Islamabad called Wednesday's assault a blatant act of war and said it had informed the UN Security Council that Pakistan reserved the right to respond appropriately to Indian aggression.
Moving on. Britain and India clinched a long-awaited free trade pact on Tuesday after tariff turmoil sparked by US President Donald Trump forced the two sides to hasten efforts to increase their trade in whiskey, cars and food. The deal between the world's 5th and 6th largest economies has been concluded after 3 years of stop-start negotiations and aims to increase bilateral trade by a further $34 billion by 2040. The deal, which will lower tariffs on goods, allow British firms to compete for Indian contracts and Indian workers to more easily work in Britain and is significant for both economies. It also represents Britain's most significant trade deal since it left the EU in 2020, though the projected boost to British economic output from the deal of £4.8 billion a year by 2040 is small compared to the country's gross domestic product of £2.6 trillion in 2024. The Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi called the trade agreement signed with Britain historic for India.
आज भारत के लिए एक ऐतिहासिक दिन है। कुछ देर पहले, मैं यहां आने से पूर्व ही मेरी ब्रिटेन के प्रधानमंत्री जी से बात हुई है और मुझे ये खुशी है कि इंडिया यूके फ्री ट्रेड एग्रीमेंट अब फाइनल हो चुका है।
Moving on. Former Afghan President Hamid Karzai has strongly criticized Pakistan for naming its missiles after historic Afghanistan rulers, while reportedly mistreating Afghan refugees. His remarks followed Pakistan's recent missile test involving Abdali, adding to earlier missiles named Ghaznavi and Khori. In a post on X, Karzai questioned the symbolism of using Afghan names for weapons while Afghan refugees in Pakistan face harassment, deportation and rights violations. Amid rising tensions, Pakistan has deported thousands of Afghans under a crackdown on undocumented migrants. Reports of violence, evictions and property loss have sparked criticism from rights groups like Amnesty International, calling for a humane approach. Karzai's statement underscores the need for genuine regional cooperation grounded in dignity and mutual respect. And ailing former Prime Minister Khaleda Zia returned to Bangladesh on Tuesday after 4 months of medical treatment in London, drawing large crowds of flag-waving supporters and reigniting the opposition's call for national elections. Hundreds of supporters gathered and were seen running along with her convoy as they showed support to the former Prime Minister. Khaleda's return adds fresh momentum to BNP's demand for elections by December. The country has been under an interim government led by Nobel laureate Muhammad Yunus since Sheikh Hasina was removed as Prime Minister and fled to India in August following deadly protest. Yunus has pledged reforms and said the poll could be delayed until 2026. Khalida has long suffered from liver cirrhosis, heart problems and diabetes and arthritis. Her legal troubles under Hasina's government, including a 17-year prison sentence in corruption cases, were denounced by her party as politically driven. She was released in 2020 on condition that she would not travel abroad. Moving on. Sri Lankan President Anurakumara Dissanayke's National People's Power has emerged as the dominant force in the local government elections held on Tuesday, winning 3,294 seats across the country. The results mark a dramatic shift in voter sentiment as NPP garnered nearly 46% of the vote, capturing 9 out of 19 seats, while the main opposition SJB obtained 28% and won 5 seats. The Rajapaksa's line SLPP received 16% of the votes, securing 3 seats. 2 other parties each won 1 seat. The outcome is significant, making the NPP's victory a notable achievement. The local elections, which had been postponed in 2023 due to the island nation's economic crisis, were held across 339 local councils. That's all in tonight's edition. We will see you same time tomorrow. Till then, good night.
Tag TV brings you daily news bulletin from India. Breaking news and views from India.